So good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Biz Talk. My name is Ade Shakoya. I'm just the person here to facilitate the conversation. As you know, this platform exists to actually increase the economic strength and power within the Black community, but it's not just exclusive. So we say, what do we mean by that? Well, that basically means we recognize in order to build our economy within our communities, it doesn't mean we exclude anybody. It's just this is where we're functioning or focusing our attention right now. I trust you guys have all had a great day, an amazing day. And once again, we've got another guest who's here, who's doing stuff in the community, and is also a business owner who's going to be telling us about some of the stuff that he's doing, and we'll expand the conversation from there. So actually, we've got two people. Sorry, originally it was just Daniel. So
yes, thank you. I'm involved.
No problem. So we've got Daniel and Shalene who are here, who are going to be sharing a bit about what they're doing and the great work they're doing in the community. So before we continue, just going to ask you both, thank you very much for taking time to be here today. Can you take a moment to just tell us a little bit about who you are?
Okay, thank you. So I'm Daniel. I'm one half of W.E.L.L.BEING SE15. We're based in Peckham, and we're a partnership that formed in 2019 to address some of the issues we saw were taking place in the community regarding health, well-being, and economics. We put on Peckham's first Wellbeing Weekend up, and that was a 2-day event at the Peckham Palms on Rye Lane. And that event was basically to highlight some of the practitioners, the alternative practitioners, and some of the businesses that exist in the area that serve the community, particularly those who come from the community. Because as you know, there are a lot of instances where people come from outside the community, take the money out, and don't put anything back into it. We want to address those kind of issues and make sure we put on an event that caters to everybody in the community and serve the community as well.
Yeah, it was an initiative spawned by Southwark Council, but myself and Daniel have both done events separately and realised that we'd be more of a powerhouse together.
Okay.
And basically, we got as many people, as many businesses local that we knew within the community that offer services that would help people to proactively manage, change their lifestyles, their health, everything like that. So myself, I'm actually from an accounting background. Yeah, I took a break from full-time working because you just need a break sometimes. I wasn't sure what I was going to do in that time, but it was literally perfect timing for myself and Daniel to come together and join forces. So together, between Daniel has like a graphics background, I have my accounting background, so I have good organizational skills, good with the numbers. We were able to put in a bid that was successful, and it was both our first bids, and that was in itself quite challenging. We almost at one point kind of said, you know what, let's just do it on our own and forget these people. But we pursued, persisted, and we were so happy with the feedback, the outcome. And we were literally like, this is a good role. We're ready to move forward with this. Unfortunately, lockdown came in and had different ideas about gatherings together in public, but that hasn't stopped us. So we've literally tried to keep the momentum going, make sure that we're connecting with different organisations. We're involved with one called Southwark Cultural Health and Wellbeing. That's like another cooperative partnership of all different types of health organisations within Southwark and maybe a little bit outside, but where it involves arts, culture, things like that. And so, yeah.
All right, great. I mean, there's quite a few good bits and pieces there, and we'll discuss them a bit more at length throughout this conversation. But I guess my first question to you is this, and I know you've touched on it, but can you delve a bit deeper, please, so that myself and the audience can get a better understanding? What is well-being, and what specifically were the problems that you saw that led you to believe that this needed to be set up?
Yeah, sure. So basically, both myself and Daniel, we've grown up seeing people around us, our family members, our closest buddies, getting ill, unfortunately, and some of them not surviving. And you just get to a point in your life where you think, is there not something that we should be or could be doing? You do hear about different things. Dr. Sebi comes into your head, and you think, why am I not doing the things if these things actually work? So basically, well-being is an acronym for holistically enriching local lives. That's what the WELL stands for.
Right, okay.
And because of the experiences that we'd had personally, it touched us so much that we thought, you know what, how can we just sit here, have this knowledge of information of where we can grasp good sources to help us get better health internally, also externally, doing things for our mind, our body and spirit. That's basically what we mean by well-being. It's not just the physical health, it's your mental health, it's the environments that you're in, it's what you do to enrich your lives. So that's where it stemmed from. We were seeing people, family members around us being affected by illnesses that are avoidable as well. And that was the biggest part of it. Why are we waiting until we get sick? Why aren't we doing something before? And that's kind of where our goal motive has stemmed from.
So essentially what Shalene said, it's about taking a preemptive stance when it comes to our health and our well-being. And in addition to the health and the well-being, we also looked at the economic factors that affect us as well in the area. So this is the reason why we specifically targeted for the event people that worked in the area who might be unsung, or they might not have a platform to actually promote themselves to a wider audience. So we took on that role for them, and we used our platform to promote their businesses and invite them in and have a place on the stage where they could actually speak about what they do to an audience. So that was part of the economic part.
That's great. I'd like to learn a little bit more about that, and we'll go into that conversation. Just a quick question for those out there who may not know. What is the typical demographics of SE15, right? That's what we said, SE15. Mm-hmm. And what type of social classes are we talking about in that location?
So when it comes to Southwark, when it comes to the Peckham area, we're looking at the percentage-wise. So when it comes to Peckham specifically, which is where we're based, it's like 60% of the population, come from African Caribbean backgrounds.
Okay.
So when we're looking at the type of businesses that exist in the area, and we look at the way that we spend in the area, we're looking at a lot of people that are coming from outside of that demographic, taking the wealth out of the area. So this is why we had to address it on an economic level as well.
So let me just ask it. So my brain processes things and it needs to simplify things. It's just the way I am. And sometimes I just say it how I think it is. So are we saying that the majority of shops and ownership of the things that generate money within that catchment area tend to be people who do not fall within the 60% bracket you just mentioned?
Right. What we're continually seeing is when it comes to actual ownership, it's not us. We might rent the spaces, we might have stalls, but when it comes to actual ownership, it's not us.
Got it.
And that's the issue.
So the little bit of money that we are circulating really doesn't make much impact because it goes to the people who take the big chunk,
right,
and then they disappear.
Right.
Yeah. Right. This is why as well we specifically chose the Palms venue, because it's an organisation that's predominantly managed. I think they have a committee and panel as well, don't they? That's predominantly from African and Caribbean backgrounds. And this was because they also saw what was missing in the area and wanted to fill that gap. Now, although they're quite hidden, which is really quite sad because it's a brilliant venue. So we knew by putting our event in there that we were going to be spotlighting this place as well, because a lot of people still, can you imagine, people in that area don't even know that it exists. And it's because it doesn't get promoted. You know, they say, oh, we're going to help to reinforce, establish Black and African Caribbean businesses and stuff. But then they kind of still slid it in the corner. So it's almost like they were trying to tick a tick box, but then didn't give them like much resources or help. So we were saying, come on, why are we not using our own venues? There's another one, a similar, I can't remember the name, you know the other one that they're always promoting? Just, you know the one I mean? Yeah.
The other building.
Yeah, that everybody knows
we're
this
not,
one.
We're not going to promote it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
even better if I can't remember the name.
I'm with you. Fair enough. Okay, so All right. No, totally hear that. And personally, I can see exactly and definitely why there's a need for something like this. And I like the fact that you said before it's holistic as well, so it takes into consideration other aspects. One of those you just mentioned, which is of great interest to me, which is the social and economic side of it. So even though we're talking about health, what is the connection between the social, economic, and what is the impact on our communities?
Because basically we need businesses in our areas whereby the pound keeps circulating. As Daniel said, sorry?
Circulate this platform, so I didn't say circulate the platform. So there you
Exactly
go.
that. So basically, with businesses, sometimes what you find is that they might be single ownership and there isn't much of a legacy for the business. So they're doing it, but they're working so many hours themselves that they can't expand and grow and become bigger. So we're trying to also promote that for businesses to grow, we have to support each other. We actually have to go and use these businesses. Then this business will get more money in. Then it will be able to expand its brand to other high streets, to other sites and things like that. And then when they have the, what can I call it, the visibility more, instead of being tucked away in all these little hidden spots, they will be prominent just as much as all these other small high street shops are that are making all the money. So for instance, why are we going to go to a high street brand coffee shop when there's a small owner who's doing like proper coffee, you know? And then they can have a spot in Elephant and Castle, Peckham, Bermondsey, instead of just being one little shop on the high street, so that we can give them the philosophy, the idea that if we are supporting each other, they can then start to plan for longevity of their business and not just the spot that they're in, so that they can see further. Even at our event, we had Paula Perry. She's brilliant. We had a platform on stage where we let people come up and talk about how do you make your business extend? How do you reach the community? How do you ensure as well that the pound is coming back in and circulating, not just once, twice, 3 times? So that was our goal.
Okay, great. And I like something that you said at the beginning there, which for me, I usually in my mind make the distinction between self-employed and having a business. Having been somebody who's been that as well, which is when you're self-employed sometimes and you're the single person, you don't have a system set up around you to run your business, success could actually be a killer because it's just you. It burns you out. It burns you totally to the ground. And I've been through that a number of times. Versus actually, like you said, owning a business, which is systemized and can be replicated and can generate the money without burning the owners out, but then expand, hit the high streets, online, all the other bits and pieces, and, you know, continue to grow, employ people, bring the money, keep the money in the community. Great stuff. So I know you've touched on some of those things, which are all very important, right? Very important. What is your vision? What's your long-term vision for the future? And why do you think it's important?
I think when it comes to, I grew up in Peckham. So I've seen all the changes that have taken place, and I've seen the reasons why a lot of the people who were there are not there now, and it's because their foothold was only their postcode. And if they've got no economic base and no, like I keep going back to ownership in terms of buildings, in terms of spaces, then there's no space for them when someone else comes in from outside the area and they put down a check and they can buy out a certain row of shops. There's been things like corporate sabotage is a real thing, and that happens on the high street. And I've been witness to that as well. Particular African businesses have been sabotaged by other people coming into the area. So what I want to see is a reversal of that. I want to see us take back ownership of our area, put down roots, and make sure that what we have and what we can pass down, what we can inherit in terms of the children, in terms of going forward, is something that's going to be self-sustaining and something that we're able to expand as well.
And also, we both have the vision, the shared vision, that when we kick-started Wellbeing SE15, our vision is that this event is going to be held, like we're going to have a huge one, once, if not twice a year. And in between that, we're going to have different things like sessions, mentoring, just like focus on different topics, different things, and then promote them. and bring in people who are specialists in these areas. So we basically wanted our brand, our name, to become recognized and associated with promoting well-being, and then eventually be able to expand that brand out. Because if we're doing something and it's working within our own borough, why can't we do that in other boroughs, or share it so that other people can do it within their borough? There are some brands and companies that are huge for what they do. Why can't we be huge for being a well-being business? Why can't we do that? And that's our inevitable goal. We want to be recognised for making people remember that health is wealth.
And can I just say, Ade, sorry, that yeah. So in terms of future, for us, collaboration is the only way we're going to do it. It's the only way we're going to do it. And we learned a lesson from doing our event, that when we bring people together, big things can definitely happen. And we made a memorable event based on the fact that we focused on collaboration, not us taking the spotlight, but giving the spotlight to people who know their business and can speak on their business.
I really love that. I love kind of what I'm detecting as the underlying philosophy which is coming out of some of the things that you're saying. But it would be remiss of me not to ask this next question. What would both or either of you say to somebody who's looking, let me just say it raw. What would you say to people who say, look, okay, I hear you, but you guys have the money. Our community has the money. We have the brains. We have all of the things. Okay, nobody's going to help us. We get that. That's standard. That's just the way it is. What's stopping us? What's the problem?
Stopping us from
pooling our resources together, buying up stuff, running businesses. It might mean some sacrifices, but us as a community with our resources, doing what it takes to build it.
Okay, one of the key things I will always say is the inability to work together, to cooperate. People, it's well and good that you have an idea, but people have been streamlined to say that if it's your idea, people have to conform and they have to do it the way you want it done. And if they're not going to do it the way you want it, then you don't want to work with them because you feel that you're better off without them. I think we have been too streamlined to saying, I should do it by myself. Okay. That's basically the crux of it for me. Because obviously we're not saying that even when we were collaborating with people that we didn't have some, little hiccups or things that we had to work on. But the key was negotiation and working out the compromise between how far am I willing to step back, or how far are we willing to meet in the middle. And sometimes it's not the middle, but sometimes you have to say to yourself, what would I lose by saying goodbye to that person? Or what will I gain by just taking them on and having a little compromise? The next time, maybe you might have more of a stronger hold, or, to be able to say, okay, we actually want to do it this way because we know it works, trust in us. But to me, it's just because people are too accustomed to working for themselves, by themselves, and when somebody upsets that, they don't have the tolerance to manage it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel?
We need to get over ourselves and our egos. That's one thing that we need to sort out. And as Shireen said, we need to know how to compromise. We need to know how to step back. We need to know when to step forward. A lot of the time, and the conversation, and I'm glad that I watched one of your casts with Brother Kwame as well. And I've known Kwame for quite a few years now. We've been in sessions together. I just want to say,
Kwame.
Yeah, and I also want to say Sandra Hurst. She's the person that brought us together initially. This was years back when she was doing the economic workshops.
Right, okay.
It was a thing where we can, if we want to, make things work, but we have to want to make things work, and it's that simple.
It literally is.
It's that simple.
Literally is.
I totally hear you on that. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. That's my saying to most things. Things are the way they are. Okay, so what do we do about it? Me, I'm one of those people, my personality sometimes, and that's come across like that sometimes in my show, and I make no apologies for it. Sometimes I have no tolerance.
Come across like that today, Ade?
No, of course not. I'm on my good behavior today. This is my good behavior day. Yeah, it's Tuesday. Okay, great. All right. I mean, that's good. So I know we spoke about health, and I know that at Well-Being you do a number of projects that you touched on. And tell us a little bit about your bowel cancer and the Black community project. What is it? How did it come about?
Right. So through well-being, through us doing that event, people started to pay attention to what we were doing. So we were approached to help address some of the issues and reach out to some of the community in terms of things like bowel cancer screening. And there's a disconnect when it comes to established institutions and the actual people they're trying to reach.
Okay.
And so we were approached to be that kind of bridge.
So just a quick one there, just to expand on that when you say disconnect,
yeah,
for those listening and myself, can you just kind of expand?
So when I say disconnect, a lot of so imagine your local GP sitting in his office 5 days a week. When does he have time to go out and speak to the actual community that he's supposed to be serving? The only time you'll see them when they're coming to the surgery. That's the only time you get to interact. When it comes to issues, when it comes to encouraging people to participate in screening programs and things like that, when are they going to actually get out to actually speak to people and find out the views and opinions of the people they're trying to reach? There's no time for it.
Most of the time as well, when they do these screening things, they might think that they just have to go to a community centre and put a poster outside, and then they think literally people are going to walk in. And this was the experience that they were having, and we said, well, it doesn't work like that. People are not just going to come in and see an NHS banner, come for a free screening or something and think, oh yeah, I'm just going to do that while I'm out doing my Saturday shopping. So it was the kind of thing where they saw our event, they saw who attended, and they thought, well, how did they get the right people to attend their event? So they wanted to work with us. And also as well, it's not just us being used as muse, like, oh, they know how to get the people. We also know off the back of that, we can start making connections so that when we start doing our events, we can start pulling in some other resources so that, you know, we can get some finances to back up our events, some sponsors and things like that. So we're doing it with a strategic mindset as well. Yes, we want to help our community, but we also want to get our business bigger and off the ground some more. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that the bowel cancer screening project is something where we're looking to get people to come in and sit down and speak about. It kind of evolved from just being encouraging people to take up a bowel cancer screening to, well, what are the reasons why people are not attending screenings? What are the issues surrounding trust when it comes to particular services, health services? What are the issues when it comes to speaking about cancer in general? So this project kind of has morphed into something else now, where we're looking at having conversations with people from the Black community about their views and experiences when it comes to cancer. What's avoidable, what's preventable, what's their experience when dealing with the health service, what is the level of care they've received when it comes to the health service. These are all things that need to be spoken about. So this is where the project is actually going now. So we're trying to recruit people to come and speak about their actual experiences. We want to use that as a means of educating people about the realities of some of the cancers and some of the things that are actually avoidable. And like we said at the beginning, it's all about taking a preemptive stance and preventative stance when it comes to illness, not just telling people to go and get a checkup. It's about what you can do. So when you go to get the checkup, you know you're going to already be in all clear.
Great. Does cancer, bowel cancer in particular, affect the Black community disproportionately?
Yes, but there's many different types as well of bowel cancer. It can be in even though they use the frame bowel.
It's like an umbrella term.
Yeah.
So you've got stomach, colon, and the upper and lower intestines. All of that can be considered bowel cancer.
Okay. And does that affect our communities more than most communities, or are we seeing the same pattern?
I think what it is it's not the effect, it's the late detection. It's one of the most treatable cancers when it's caught early, but we're being diagnosed too late. So that was where the discrepancy was in our community.
Gotcha. And is it we're being diagnosed too late because some of us are not engaging in the screening process, and that's kind of what's happened. Some of the work that you're doing now is to try and re-educate, understand why people are not engaging, and then feed it back so that they can make the adjustments and build that bridge.
That's exactly it.
So partly, and I say partly because a lot of the screening programs target the over 50s. And what we found, and what I found personally from speaking to people, is that younger and younger people are getting hit with these illnesses. And because they think they're in an age bracket where those kind of things don't affect them, they're not going to the doctors. They think it's something that comes. So you've got people in their 30s and 40s passing away due to an illness that typically is thought to affect over 60, over 50s.
But yeah, very important. And I guess that ties in with the next thing. I mean, health is wealth, right?
Yep.
I always remember when it comes to instances like this, some of the last videos that were circulating of Steve Jobs on his deathbed. And I guess that's a prime example, right? Sometimes as business owners, we chase the money, we chase all the other bits and pieces. And I'm 100% guilty of that as well, whereby at times, sometimes it gets dark out there and I'm like, oh, I've got a rumble in my tummy. What's going on? And I'm like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. Dude, you haven't eaten all day. Like,
All of that.
Yeah, all of that, right? So sometimes we do neglect that, but it's important, right? Health is important, especially for business owners, right?
Yeah, I can definitely personally say I've lived that as well, Ade. I've been in jobs where the sun comes up and the sun goes down. I'm still in the office. And this is easy. You could be doing this just because you love your job and you just convinced yourself that if I work another hour, then tomorrow I'll be able to do the next thing. But it never works like that. That's what I've learned. It never works like that. You work your life away and you literally do get it's until you get ill that you're forced to stop working away your life. Yeah, I get it. We need money. We need to pay the bills. But if you're dead, you won't have any bills to pay anyway.
That's one way out.
Yeah, exactly. So you do have to take a forced stance on the balance between working hard but not killing yourself working. So definitely no amount of wealth can buy your health. I haven't heard of it yet. Have you heard of it, where the amount of money you earn could stop your illness? It doesn't work like that. So it's balance. Balance is really hard to find, but don't let your illness find the balance for you. So
I hear you, and I like what you just said there. And so then I've got a personal request of both of you. So like I'm a co-parenting single father of 3 boys. I run a couple of businesses and I do all of these other bits and pieces. So as I said, I sometimes neglect the things that I know are important to my health and long-term vision, because just sometimes you're in survival mode, right? You're like, I go feed the kids, I go do this, I go do that, I go do that. So, but what I love is simple hacks, like simple, easy things that I can quickly just do, right? And just feel a little bit better, okay? Then build on momentum on that. So I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot now, to give us, that's me, us, but several simple hacks that I could use, or anybody watching this could use right now to improve their health, their life, their business, literally overnight. Okay. And I'm up for one of them being just go to bed early. I'll go to bed now. I'm fine.
Well, I'm a natural night owl, so I could tell myself go to bed all I want. I'm not getting there. I could start saying from 10:30 tonight we're gonna have an early night, midnight I'm still there. Sometimes you have to go with what works for your body. Some people can wake up at 5 a.m. They're good like that. You can forget me waking up at 5 a.m. But if I can have my lie-in, start my day at 10 a.m., I'm going to have a really productive day. So for me, learn your body. That's one of the things. Know what works for you. Not what works for one person is going to work for the other person. My other key thing would have to be, I love a schedule. I love a calendar. I love something that, even paper. I'm so old school. People be like, what's that? I'm like, a diary. And they're like, haven't you heard of Exactly. They're like, haven't you heard of apps? I'm like, I can't deal with apps. I just need to look sometimes it just has to be a weekly thingy. Even if you do like the digital one, maybe just get yourself a weekly one, and then for that week, write down everything that's coming up. For me, planning works because there was one time I was working full-time in an over full-time demanding job, and I sat my 3 final ACCA accounting papers whilst working full-time. And I passed them all first time, but I know I only did it because I literally set myself a schedule for time off, time to work, time to study, and time to do literally everything, food, shopping, cooking, because all those things take time. People forget that when you're rostering your week, do you not remember you need to eat as well? That takes time, you know? So I would just say my favorite things are plan schedules, find a way to keep track of yourself, but so that you have free time for yourself, but time to do the things that you need to get done, and prioritizing. Sometimes I fall a bit slack on myself and I want to get the easy thing done first because it's more appealing. But then you suffer because you didn't get the thing that's now going to put you under pressure, you know, and make you feel anxious because you haven't done it. You didn't leave yourself enough time. So those are my things.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that last one. I have 2 terms for that last one. I have the strategy called eat that frog. So first thing in the day, take on the most difficult thing that you don't want to do, right? Because if not, you have what I call an energy leak. In the back of your head, no matter what you're busy doing, you're like, oh my gosh, where else can I find out to do this thing that I know I need to do?
Exactly. And I'm still guilty of doing it. See, one of the things giving advice is that it sounds like you're a pro. It sounds like you're exercising all these things. I'm sure if CCTV was to be in my house, we'd be like, but is she doing what she said? So also as well, don't over guilt yourself for not sticking to the way that you wanted to do itself. But just say to yourself, okay, am I going to learn from not abiding by something that could have improved my day? Or am I going to look forward and say, it doesn't work that way, what are you going to do to change it? Lump it or like it, that's what I say. If you're going to not do anything to improve yourself, don't start berating yourself because it didn't go well. Of course it's not going to go well or better or improve. You didn't do anything to change. So, yeah. I'm going to shout now. Daniel's
I like that. And I'm just going to jump in, and then Daniel, I'm going to let you jump in. So one of the things is over lockdown, right? I used to go to gym quite often, and I didn't go gym, and then you start not eating well and everything else. And then when they did open it up, it was like really hard for me to go back to the gym. I'm like, this is long. Like 3 weeks went by, I hadn't been to the gym. Guess what prompted me to go to the gym?
Did you look at yourself?
No, I was looking at myself, but I was already having those conversations with people. That's why I knew I had to go to gym, but I couldn't get the inertia. The thing that got me to the gym is when I saw a ping come up on my account. I said, huh? And I saw that the gym was already taking out the money again. They started taking out the money, which means I'm tired. I'm like, you know what? You guys ain't taking my money without me. I've been there 3 times since then. I'm like, yeah, I get my money's worth. So that's just all right, Daniel. Thank you very much for that.
It's good that you mentioned the gym. Obviously, one of my key things is the training aspect. If you train, try and schedule time for training, get the blood flowing, get the energy circulating. One of the key things that I do in the mornings is I don't turn on my phone to take phone calls until about 10 a.m. So I might check my emails, but I won't receive any phone calls, and there'll be no social media before that time. And you have to schedule those things in as well. I've got colleagues that I've got sick because they don't even take their lunch breaks. So I have to tell them, make sure you take a lunch break. And if you can take it outside the office. Don't take it inside the space, because you have to have the technology break as well. Those are key things. Another thing that one of my hacks is actually while driving or sometimes while working, I will actually listen to about 30 minutes to an hour of classical music or ambient music. It's all about the frequencies and the vibrations.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Those will get you right. So
I have a nice one on YouTube. You're supposed to listen to it from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. But Shalene doesn't know those hours.
I'm gonna say good luck to you, man. I'm sleeping.
unless I've stayed up. That's the only time I see 5 a.m. But I think people put in like 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. What's it called? When you meditate music. It's so nice. I mean, everyone can have their own thing. Maybe some people like heavy metal, you know, in the morning to relax to. But whatever is your thing, you do it. And I do think that is another thing I would say. Whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you feel relaxed, make sure you find time to do it. Make sure the common classic ones are like go for a walk. You'd be amazed how much going for a walk can just settle you a little bit, make you, enjoy the butterflies and the flowers, and a bit of rubbish going past you,
True.
So just make sure at least once a week you put in some quality time for something you enjoy, even if that's chatting with your friend on the phone to get some jokes, or watching just for laughs on YouTube, whatever it is, just something that's gonna make you smile, lose those wrinkles, I mean, I'm 21.
Yeah, well, I'm 95. So I'm shining. I've got no wrinkles. I do well. But no, I could totally relate to that, and I think I shared this before many other platforms. So a couple of years ago, I hit the lowest point I'd ever been in my life, going through a divorce, being a single co-parenting parent, trying to run your business and everything else that goes with it. And eventually I went into serious deep depression. I mean, it was only when I came out of it I recognized, whoa, that was depression.
Yes, that's the thing, isn't it, as well? When you're in something, you don't see it until you're out, and you're like, how? Literally.
Yes, I had to go through that process and rework the brain, and thank God for God. So my belief in God also helped me through that process majorly, and learning to meditate, learning to let things go. But I guess one of the greatest learnings that I got from that was that even though stuff was happening at the time that was adding to my depression physically, there's a lot that goes on in our head which really just creates fear, right? And all the things that I thought were going to happen, the things that did happen, they didn't kill me. And some of them never happened anyway. And here I am, and I'm just like, actually, I didn't need to do depressed. All I needed to do was mentally in this space where I'm at right now, which is okay, whatever. So,
whenever I'm faced with something that potentially could be a big decision, or you're not sure of the outcome, what I always say to myself to slow myself down is, what's the worst that can happen, right? And even if the worst happened, what would you do if that happened? There's always a way. There's always a way. There's nothing that you can't come back from or get out of. It might seem at the time that you won't, but trust me, when you are put into circumstances, you will always start looking for a natural way to start getting yourself out of that situation. So I would say, don't preempt what hasn't happened. Deal with what's happening right now, and how can you deal with what's happening right now, then deal with the next thing when it's on your plate. There are some things obviously you can try to avoid, but if you're having too much anxiety or involving what hasn't happened yet, stop that, cut that out. Say, what's happening now? Okay, I've got a deadline now that I need to meet. Can I do that? Yes. If I can't, I go to my boss and say, it's not feasible for me to meet. And you know what happens most of the time? The boss will come back and say, okay, when can you get it done? And then they'll say, okay, well, make sure it's done by then. And then you're like, right, I bought myself some time. Let me try and stick to that deadline now. That's what most of the time I found always happens. There's always a way.
No, I totally hear you on that. And it's hey, life is not always easy, and I just want to also throw in another tip. So this tip is for free for all the other listeners out there. I think we've given you like about a gazillion already, but like to over deliver. And another one is drink water. So this is I'm not
cheers to that.
Cheers. There you go, virtual. There you go.
There you go, to life.
Wow, vintage.
I love my water.
Yeah, I'm getting better at it. It's an area where I'm recognizing that actually, dude, sometimes when you're like, oh, I'm so tired, and it's like, oh, actually, you haven't been drinking no water, dude. Go drink some water. Simple. Yeah. So, all right, cool. Great. Thank you very much. So, as we start to wrap up, thank you very much for sharing those hacks. I'll be taking on board some of them, and I'm sure some of the people watching right now will also take on board some of them. As we start to wrap up, how can people get hold of you and find out more about what the amazing stuff that you guys are doing?
Okay, you go through it.
All right, so website, wellbeingse15.org, and all the socials, wellbeing SE15. It's that simple.
And SE is in Southeast.
So we're talking about.
Look at us.
There we are.
Look at that. Beautiful.
Oh,
Look at all those colours.
SD stands for Southeast. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would like to say born and bred, but no, just bread.
No butter.
No, no butter.
No butter. Got it. All right. So there's the website there. So anybody, so here's overlay right there. So you can just go to this website, www.being se15.org. Go there. You can find out about all the great work that Daniel and Shalene are doing here in the community. Also, you can connect with them by email at info.well.being. Well, you got it there. I'm not going to read it out.
Yeah. Holistically enriching local lives.
There you got it. Holistically enriching local lives. So, you know, enrichment, that's what it's about. All about enrichment. So that's great. And then also you can catch them, their social media hanger across all social media platforms, right? Well, there you go, right? So then just reach out and see and support the great work. So just as we're about to wrap up, I got 2 questions. And because there's 2 of you, that might be 4. I'm bad at maths. I failed my GCSE, so here's what it is. Right? Anyway, so the first question is this. What can people do to reach and support the great work that you're doing at Well-Being?
Just look out for our upcoming events and attend, and attend. I think that's the only thing I could say, isn't it, at the moment?
What I would say also is get in touch if you think there's a way that we can support you as well. It's not just about you supporting us. We're there to support the community. So you might have an event idea, or you might have a program that you want to run and you don't have an audience, or you don't know how to reach. That's what we're there for. So we can facilitate and we can help you do those kind of things. So get in touch with us for that.
Yeah.
Each one teach one, right? And me, like I like to say, my new catchword for the last 5 years or beyond has been simply this: co-opetition over competition, right? It's working together. How do you find people who complement you and your values? Find people whose weaknesses are your strengths, and your strengths are their weaknesses, or vice versa. You know what I mean, anyway.
Yes.
No, it's too late. It's late in the day. I haven't really eaten much today, but it was it is. But I really do appreciate you sharing that. And before the second question was this. You've both alluded to, I think, that you've got other businesses, or you do other things, right? What else do you do other than
myself? As I mentioned, I'm an accountant, so I currently work as a management accountant at the Tate. I'm a newbie there, so I just started in August. So at the moment, I'm actually even in the premises of trying to relearn how to balance full-time work with outside commitments, because I'm involved in like a few community panels as well. I'm like an advocate in my area for issues going on within my residencies and stuff like that. So it just seems like there's always somewhere that my head should be turning. But and just the events with Daniel and Well-Being. So that's me.
Quick question, and feel free, because I know it might have some like NDA issues around it. Did you say Tate as in Tate Modern Art Gallery?
As in Tate, the same. Yeah.
So my question is this: how have they responded, that you're allowed to share without getting into trouble, to COVID? Like, how do they do? Are they doing like online gallery, or what are they doing?
Wow. So they basically did what they could with some things online. Initially, before we went into the big lockdown where it was staggered, we were all in different stages and stuff like that. So it was just like socially distanced exhibitions. Yeah, remember, because we had like, what was it, stage 1 or something, and then Liverpool.
I'm a hermit. All these things go past me.
London. But for the most part, for the last, I think it's been 2 months or 3 months, we've been closed. So anything that they could have done, because the government, wouldn't have allowed it anyway.
Of course.
So, but we're open again. We're open.
Hey.
So
you're officially open now.
Sorry?
You're officially open now.
We're officially open. Do
I need a mask to get in, or can I come in without a mask? Do I need a mask to get in, or can I come in without a mask?
You would definitely have to wear your mask, most likely.
Okay, I can imagine you're gonna see some really cool, different type of like artistic masks in there.
Go for it.
There you go. All right, awesome. Daniel, how about yourself?
Right, so my bread and butter is graphic design and photography. So when it comes to the well-being, branding, and all that kind of stuff, that's me. When it comes to the social media and stuff, people can reach out to me via Daps GDP. Yeah, we'll have to spell it all.
I know.
So that's D for Daniel, A for Apple, P for Palmer, S for Peter, G for graphics, D for design, P for print. And that's all the socials. And also I am a member of the Sunbeam Forum, which is another Peckham-based organisation. And again, we're there to address some of the issues that the community are facing in terms of access to information, access to funding, access to spaces. So tune into the sunbeamforum.org. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, really appreciate that. And yes, there you go, guys. That's where you can reach out and connect with Shalene and Daniel. Support them. Support Well-Being 15. Well-Being SE15, right? Because it's, as we said, holistic, enriching of local lives, right? Thank you very much. Right. So yeah. So let's get behind them. Let's support them. And remember, health is. I don't like to use the word important. It's the foundation of everything, right? It's just that's it. No health, there's nothing. So just remember that. You've got a number of hacks. So I'm going to allow you to share in the hacks that were personally just given to me. But I'm feeling generous. I'm going to share it with everybody who's listening to the show. Simple things that you can start doing that can make a big difference in your life. And obviously, like we said, start small. Do a little few things, and that will just give you the momentum to do more and more things. And before you know it, you're like, whoa. Yeah, some of the things that after a while you're just like, right? So once again, guys, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And
thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a good evening.
Hope they do. So nothing much more to say other than to just the listeners, do feel free to follow us on YouTube. You can catch us on Circulate the Back Pound. And also, actually, just before we go, I am going to give you all this. So there you go. That's my parting gift, the Unfair Business Advantage, which will be on June the 15th. Oh, yeah, you guys disappeared. I was like, what?
Yeah, we ain't got nowhere. We saw it free. We were hanging around.
No problem. Yeah, so it's free. So yeah, everybody just pop on down to, and I spelt that wrong. So let me just quickly do that right now. But anyway, it's just one S in Summit, as you can see. So just pop over to summit@adeshakoya.com. Grab yourself a free place. Feel free to share. Obviously, free places are limited and subject to availability. But come along, come and learn some strategies. Come and learn some stuff that you can use in your business, in your life for 2021 and beyond. And on that note, once again, to our guests, thank you very much for joining us. To all the listeners out there, thank you very much. And I will see you guys next week, Tuesday, God willing. So until then, take care. Look after yourself. Remember, circulate as much as you can.